If you are over 60 and your feet feel numb, tingly, burning, weak, or less reliable the moment you stand up, stay with me, because the next few minutes were made for you. Here is the part almost nobody leads with. When your feet feel unreliable, the safest starting point is usually not walking farther, and it is definitely not balancing barefoot. It may be one small supported movement you can do before your first step of the day. Start here, not harder. Now let me be honest with you right away, because you deserve that. These 5 movements are not a cure for nerve damage. They will not repair your nerves or restore feeling in numb feet, and they do not replace the care of your own clinician. What gentle, supported movement may do for some people is help you feel a little steadier and more confident on your feet, and that is worth understanding clearly. I am Adrian Westbrook, and here on Evidence After 60, my job is to help you think clearly, not to sell you a miracle. So here is my promise for today. You will learn 5 gentle exercises, what each one is actually for, and how to do them inside clear safety boundaries. And watch for the last one. It is not the dramatic exercise, but it is the one where many people accidentally make the whole routine unsafe. When we get there, I want you to slow down with me. Before any of that, let's separate what nerve symptoms really are from what exercise can honestly support. That one difference matters more than almost anything else in this video. Let me explain what we are actually working with. Peripheral neuropathy is a problem with the nerves, and it can affect both sensation and movement. That is why some people notice numbness, tingling, burning pain, weakness, a poor sense of where the foot is in space, unsteadiness, or even falls. If any of that sounds familiar, you are not imagining it, and you are not alone. Here is something that surprises people. Neuropathy symptoms after 60 can come from many different causes. Diabetes is one of the most common, but it is far from the only one. Nerve compression or injury can do it. So can kidney or thyroid disease, a vitamin deficiency, a history of chemotherapy, alcohol, or toxin exposure, certain autoimmune conditions, some infections, and even certain medications. Because there are so many possible causes, new, worsening, or unexplained symptoms really should be discussed with a clinician. You cannot reliably tell the cause from the symptoms alone, and neither can I. Now this is where I get skeptical about the big promises. Exercise may support function and confidence for some people, but it does not diagnose the problem, it does not cure it, it does not reverse it, and it does not treat the underlying cause. That work belongs to you and your medical team together. Let me give you the honest state of the evidence. In diabetic peripheral neuropathy, exercise training may improve balance and some functional measures. That is genuinely encouraging. But I have to be fair with you. The certainty of that evidence is low to very low, so we hold it gently. It is a reason to try safe movement, not a guarantee of a specific result. So here is the more useful question. Instead of asking, which exercise fixes my nerves, ask yourself this: which gentle movements may help me move more safely while the actual cause is being properly managed by my clinician? That is the question this whole routine is built around. With that boundary clear, the first exercise starts to make sense, because the safest routine does not begin with standing. It begins before you ever stand up. This is your start here movement, and it is deliberately small. Begin seated in a sturdy chair. If your foot sensation is reduced, or if you have diabetes or diabetes-related foot risk, keep your supportive shoes on for this. That sounds small, but it matters. The first movement is the ankle pump. With your heel resting comfortably, gently point the foot away from you, then flex it back toward you, moving through a comfortable range. Slow and easy. You are not trying to force anything or reach a maximum. You are simply waking the ankle up. Then we add ankle circles. Draw small, slow circles with the foot, first in one direction, then the other. Keep the range gentle and stay away from anything that pinches or hurts. What is the purpose here? This supports ankle mobility. It gets gentle movement through the lower leg, and it helps your feet and ankles feel ready before you stand or walk. Now, I want to be careful with this. It does not mean your nerve signals are being restored, and it is not proof that your neuropathy is improving. It is preparation, Plain and simple. I also want you to use this as your first movement check of the day. Ask yourself, is this motion comfortable? Is there pain, cramping, dizziness, or any new weakness? If everything feels calm and controlled, that is a good sign to continue gently. If you feel pain, severe cramping, dizziness, new weakness, any chest discomfort, or symptoms that are getting worse, stop. And here is one specific thing worth knowing. If one ankle suddenly will not lift the way it used to, or if a dropped foot is new for you, that is not something to exercise through. That is a reason to route to a clinician for evaluation, rather than pushing forward with the routine. Once the ankle wakes up safely, the natural next question is whether the front and the back of your lower leg can still work together. That is the second exercise. This one adds a little more control to the lower leg, and you can still do it seated. Start with seated toe raises. Keep your heels planted on the floor and lift the front of your feet upward so your toes come up toward you. Then lower them with control. That movement uses the front of the lower leg. Next, seated heel raises. This time keep your toes down and lift your heels up off the floor so you rise onto the balls of your feet while seated. Then lower slowly. That works the calf and the back of the lower leg. Now, if standing feels safe for you today, you may do a supported version instead. Stand with both hands near a kitchen counter or a sturdy chair, and do the same toe lifts and heel lifts with that support right there for you. The support is not optional here, it is part of the exercise. The purpose of all of this is to support calf and ankle activation, foot control, and walking confidence. But let me be clear, toe raises and heel raises are not a treatment for numbness. They are functional movement practice, nothing more and nothing less. Keep the repetitions gentle, slow, and symptom limited. A few comfortable reps is plenty to start. And please avoid heavy loaded calf raises. This is about control, not building maximum strength under load. Let me paint you a quick picture to show why this matters. Imagine two adults, both over 70, and both plan to walk out to the mailbox. The first one stands up quickly and rushes forward onto numb feet, trusting that everything will just work. The second one sits for a moment first, moves the ankles, lifts the toes and the heels a few times, and then stands up with a hand on support before heading out. I am not telling you the second person is cured or protected from every risk. The point is simpler than that. The point is safer preparation, not a medical outcome. So let's pause and recap where we are. Exercise 1 supports ankle mobility. Exercise 2 adds front and back lower leg activation. Both are gentle preparation, not nerve repair. The third movement is smaller than the first two, but here's the thing. Numb feet often need awareness just as much as they need strength. This exercise is quiet, and that is exactly the point. You have a few options, so pick whichever feels most doable for you. You can gently spread your toes apart. You can try to lift just the big toe, if that is possible for you. You can try lifting the smaller toes, if that is possible. Or, while seated on a stable surface, you can place a towel on the floor and lightly scrunch it toward you with your toes. The purpose here is foot awareness and toe control practice. That is it. This is not toe exercise for nerve regeneration, and I want to be honest about that. A couple of safety notes. Use the towel only while seated on a stable surface, and avoid forceful gripping or anything that brings on cramping. And if your toes do not move much, that is okay. You can still attempt a gentle mental and physical cue, simply thinking about the movement and asking the toes to respond without forcing them. I want to say something directly here. Please do not feel any shame if your toes do not move well. That is genuinely common, and it does not mean you are failing at this. What it does mean is that reduced sensation or weakness deserves careful attention, especially if it is new or getting worse, and that is a conversation for your clinician. One more practical point. Keep your shoes on if your protective sensation is reduced. Unless a clinician or physical therapist has specifically advised otherwise for a supervised setting. Now here is where I want you to slow down for a second. The smallest movement in this routine may be the easiest one to overclaim. Toe work is for awareness and control. It is not proof that your nerves are healing. Hold on to that difference because it protects you from disappointment and from false hope alike. Foot awareness helps. But your whole leg still needs some low-impact movement, and that brings us to the fourth exercise. Now let's move from small movements to whole leg rhythm. We start with seated marching. Sitting tall in your chair, lift one knee slightly, lower it with control, and then switch to the other side. Slow and steady, like a gentle march in place while seated. That is the version I want most people to start with. If your balance is safe today, a standing march near a counter may be appropriate as a progression. Stand near your support and lift one knee at a time with that counter right there for you. But notice the condition, only if your balance is safe. Gentle walking can also support mobility and daily movement as long as your feet are protected and your symptoms allow it. The purpose of all of this is whole leg movement, a functional walking rhythm, and confidence in motion. Now you may have heard that movement helps circulation, and gentle movement can support general blood flow. But I want to be careful here because circulation is not the cause of neuropathy, and moving your legs is not a cure for it. Mention of circulation is just about general movement support, nothing more. Here is where blanket advice can be risky, so let me be specific. For this audience, I would avoid long daily walking challenges. This is not about racking up distance. And weight-bearing exercise should be avoided entirely if you have an open sore, an ulcer, a blister, an infected area, an unexplained red, warm, or swollen foot, or any injury. In those situations, the answer is not more walking, the answer is medical attention. And I want to leave you with this line because I think it reframes a lot of unnecessary pressure. If standing feels uncertain, seated marching is not a lesser version. It may be the safer starting point. There is no prize for standing before you are ready. Let's recap the routine so far. Ankle mobility prepares the joint. Toe and heel raises activate lower leg control. Toe work supports awareness. Marching or gentle walking adds whole leg rhythm. The final exercise is the one many people want to try first, but it belongs last, and in a moment I will explain why, because safety changes everything about how you approach it. Before we do the last exercise, I want to explain the reasoning, because the reasoning is what keeps you safe. Your balance does not come from just one place. It depends on several systems working together. Your vision, your inner ear, your muscle response, your sense of joint position, and the sensation coming up from your feet. When all of those cooperate, staying steady feels almost automatic. Here is the interesting part and the important part for you. Neuropathy symptoms can reduce the feedback coming from your feet. When that foot signal is quieter than it used to be, unsupported balance drills become riskier because you are relying on a sense that may not be fully reporting in. So now you can see why we built the routine the way we did. We start with seated movement to prepare the joints, then activation to wake up the muscles, then awareness to reconnect with the feet, then whole leg movement to find a rhythm, and only then do we practice balance. Each step earns the next one. The goal here is not to test your courage. I am not asking you to prove anything. The goal is to practice control with support close by. And this is why I would steer you away, as general advice, from eyes closed drills, wobble boards, barefoot work on unstable surfaces, and single leg stances. Not because they are dangerous for absolutely everyone, but because they depend so much on your individual situation and they remove exactly the safety margin that numb feet need most. So the safest version of balance practice is controlled, supported, and easy to stop at any moment. Let me show you what that looks like. This is the exercise that connects most directly to real life, so let's set it up carefully. First, position yourself near a stable counter, a rail, or a sturdy chair, something solid that is not going to move. Then look at your space. Clear away rugs, cords, clutter, and any slippery surfaces, and wear appropriate footwear if your sensation is reduced or if diabetes-related foot risk applies to you. Setup is not a formality here, it is the exercise. Now for the movement itself. For supported weight shifts, stand tall, keep a hand near your support, and slowly shift your weight from side to side, staying within a comfortable range. You can also shift gently forward and back. The key word is slowly. If that feels controlled, you can try a supported staggered stance. Place one foot slightly ahead of the other. And I want to be clear, this is not a forced tightrope stance where the feet are in a straight line. It is just one foot slightly ahead, with your support available the whole time. The purpose is balance, confidence, and controlled weight transfer for everyday movement. Now here are the firm rules for this one. Do not close your eyes, do not stand on a pillow or a wobble board, and do not practice this alone if you have a history of falls or severe balance impairment. Those rules are not there to scare you, they are there so this stays helpful instead of risky. Let me give you a picture of why this exercise matters so much. Think about someone who feels perfectly fine sitting down, but who freezes for a moment when they turn around in the kitchen. A supported weight shift near the counter is not a performance test for that person. It is a way to rehearse the exact moment where daily life actually challenges balance, the turning, the reaching, the changing direction. That is the value of it. I am not promising it prevents a fall, and I would never claim a specific result. It is functional practice done with support. Now that you have seen all 5, notice what this really is. The routine is not 5 random exercises. It moves from ankle mobility to lower leg activation to foot awareness to whole leg rhythm, and finally to supported balance. But even a gentle routine like this one needs clear stopping rules, because some symptoms should never be answered with another exercise. Let's cover those next. I want to keep this section calm and practical, because it is genuinely one of the most useful parts of the whole video. Let's start with when to ask first. Please talk with a clinician or a physical therapist before starting if any of these apply to you. Diabetes, severe numbness, loss of protective sensation, PAD or poor circulation, a prior foot ulcer, a current wound, Charcot foot, recent falls, severe arthritis, severe back pain, dizziness, kidney failure, or dialysis, or any activity restrictions you have already been given. If this applies to you, it is worth asking, not because movement is dangerous for everyone, but because the right version depends on your situation. If you have diabetes, loss of protective sensation, poor circulation, calluses, foot deformity, or prior ulcers, get into the habit of inspecting your feet before and after you exercise. And do not exercise barefoot if your sensation is reduced or if diabetes-related foot risk applies to you. Now here is when to stop during exercise. Stop for chest discomfort, severe dizziness, faintness, new weakness, severe pain, severe cramping, a fall, or symptoms that are getting worse. When your body sends one of those signals, the right response is to stop, not to push through. And here is when to seek prompt medical care. Sudden symptoms on one side of the body, a facial droop, trouble speaking, a new foot drop, changes in bladder or bowel control that come along with back symptoms, rapidly worsening numbness, an open wound, spreading redness, warmth, swelling, drainage, a fever, black or blue changes in the skin, a foot that is severely cold or pale, pain at rest, or severe circulation symptoms. Those are not exercise problems. Those are reasons to get medical help. One more boundary I want to be firm about. Any questions about your medications belong with your clinician or your pharmacist. I am not going to tell you to start, stop, or change a medication, and no one should be adjusting medication simply because exercise seems to be helping. With that safety line clear in your mind, the routine actually becomes simple enough to remember tomorrow morning. So let's put it all together. Now let us move from theory into a habit you can actually use. Here is the sequence, and notice that it is built safety first from the ground up. First, seated ankle pumps and ankle circles. Second, seated or supported toe raises and heel raises. Third, toe spread, toe lift, or towel scrunch for foot awareness. Fourth, seated marching or gentle low-impact walking progression. Fifth, supported weight shifts, or supported balance stance. Each of these should be gentle, slow, symptom limited, and matched to your own ability on that particular day. If standing feels uncertain, choose the seated version. That is not a compromise. That is good judgment. And here is something I want you to hold on to. This routine should not turn into a challenge to do more and more every single day, regardless of how your feet feel. That is the opposite of what we are going for. So instead of fixed prescriptions, think in gentle terms. A few comfortable repetitions, short sets, start low, and ask for guidance if you are unsure. Those phrases keep you safe. If you remember nothing else, remember the sequence, because the sequence is the real lesson. Prepare, then activate, then notice, then move, and then balance with support. That order is what turns 5 separate movements into one thoughtful, safer routine. So the safest takeaway is not that these exercises fix neuropathy. It is that your very first step can be more prepared and more supported than it was yesterday. Let me bring it all home. Here is the biggest lesson I hope you carry away from our time together. With neuropathy symptoms after 60, safer movement begins with support, with the right footwear, with regular foot checks, and with realistic expectations. That is the foundation, and everything else rests on it. And here is the safest, most honest takeaway I can give you. These 5 movements may help some people support steadiness, mobility, foot awareness, and confidence in daily life, but they do not cure neuropathy and they do not reverse it. Holding both of those truths at once is not a letdown. It is exactly how you make a wise, sustainable choice for your own body. So what does this look like tomorrow morning? Let me make it simple. Before your first longer walk, sit in a sturdy chair and try a few gentle ankle pumps, if that feels safe for you. Use a counter or a chair for any standing version of these movements. Keep your shoes on if your sensation is reduced or if diabetes-related foot risk applies to you. Stop for any of the warning symptoms we talked about. And ask a clinician or a physical therapist first if you have red flags, wounds, recent falls, severe numbness, or activity restrictions. That is a plan you can actually start with. Not a miracle, just a better, safer daily choice. If you value calm, evidence-based health guidance for life after 60, consider subscribing to Evidence After 60. Take care of those feet, move with support, and I will see you next time.